Hello everyone, welcome back to Hills and Hollers Homesteading and Prepping. Homesteader Mike here, and it's cold and windy out here today. I'm not happy with this weather. Better than snow, but it's still cold and windy, and I'm ready for that mid 70-degree weather. All right, I'm gonna let the chickens and the turkeys out here. So I had to, okay, all right, don't argue with me. Okay, so I just got back from a Walmart run, and damn turkey. So anyways, I went over and I wanted to get some beans and rice. And I tell you why I want to get beans and rice. And I know it sounds funny because I said don't stack beans and rice, don't stack beans and rice. What I meant by that, and I think I've pretty much explained that pretty well, is don't only stock beans and rice. And we had 20 pounds of rice, maybe 10 pounds of beans. So I wanted to build up our long store dry goods. So I went over and I got, I think I ended up getting 24, 8, 16, 24. Sit down here, get out this wind for a minute. Whew. I think I ended up getting close to 30 pounds of beans, and I got 20 pounds of rice. And then I got some Vienna sausages, and the boy likes ramen noodles, so I got a couple cases of ramen noodles and stuff, just to put some good long-term storage food away, because we haven't had it. We didn't have that much to begin with. Everything else we focused on has been, home canned, dry canned, stuff like that. And I wanted to make sure that we had our stores built up. And the big reason why is I looked up to try to find a 50-pound bag of beans, like pinto beans. And let me tell you, $143. I was like, holy crap. I found it a little cheaper, but the shipping was more than the cost of the beans. So I said, no, that's I'm not going to do that. And I pulled up and found over here at local Walmart that they had the 8-pound bags of pinto beans. I think they were $5 and change each. So I bought 3 of the 8-pound bags of pinto beans, and I bought a couple bags of 1 pound, 2 pound Great Northern and Navy beans. And then I got some Vienna sausages and some other stuff, but just to put, like I said, to build up on the dry stores. Now, I talked to a guy today, and this is a guy that I trust and that we trust. And when it comes to financial stuff, the market, our investments, our retirement, I listen to this guy. And he has proven himself over and over and over with us. At no point, never has he ever given us any reason to not trust him and not feel comfortable with his opinions on things. And I'll tell you another reason why is this guy owns land. This guy processes their own foods and stuff, and meats and animals and stuff. They've got dry stores. They prep some, and he's got he's been focusing more on guns and ammo and stuff here recently as well. And so he's a good, trustworthy guy. This is a guy, and this is what he told me today, because I called him. I was kind of worked up about a few things, and I just wanted to make doubly sure. If you look at our inflation rate, as the inflation rises, value of the dollar goes down. Okay, so I think right now we're like 7.8 inflation rate. They just did a 0.25% interest rate increase. I think there's 6 of them planned for this year. The next 2 are going to be half-point inflation rate or interest rate raises. And each time the inflation goes up, the value of the dollar goes down. And a good comparison to that was, like, if you go back to, I think, 1975, we're at 7.8 right now. 1975, it was 9.7. I think it was 9.78. And if you took $100,000 today back to 1975, it would be worth $575,000. So more than 5 times more valuable then than now. And the reason I asked that was, and I threw these numbers out here, and I said, so what am I going to do? I said, I'm 10 years from retirement. I said, we've got our retirement set up in several different, things and a few different ways. And I said, just for an example, I said, if we've got $1 million in our retirement and the dollar crashes, I said, and they end up converting, which I think the plan is, if I understand Agenda 21 and Agenda 30 correctly, that the intent is to pretty much intentionally crash the US dollar. And no tinfoil on the head day either. So the intent with these agendas is to crash the U.S. dollar intentionally, create a digital currency, like the Fed coin, and that way nobody owns anything. So you don't have anything physical to hold on to. And if you look at our current economy, our current cash system, okay, it's paper, and there's nothing to back it. We're $30 million in debt, or $30 trillion in debt. We have absolutely nothing but paper that they've been printing extensively and carelessly, and we hold no value. We hold absolutely no value whatsoever. And pretty much the world's economy is based on a dollar. And we're looking at right now a big devaluation. And the way he explained it was, he said, Mike, he said, the entire globe, he said, every economy right now, he said, is a giant pile of crap. He said, he said, the global economy, he said, giant pile of crap. He said, the best thing about that is he said, currently the U.S.'s economy is that little sprinkle on top of that giant piece of crap. He said, we're still crap. He said, but we're at the top of it. He said, so we're faring a lot better than these other countries are. He said, even the European Union. So he said, if something would happen, he said, so for an example, he said, say you had $1 million in your retirement. And he said, it just completely crashes. He said, all you've got left out of that $1 million is $100,000. He said, that's everybody. He said, everybody's lost. They've lost it. Not the same amount. Of course, people have more, some have less. But he said, everybody's lost pretty much equally across the board, the same percentage. He said, so you end up out of $1 million, you got $100,000 left. He said, that kind of resets the system in a sense. And he said, this isn't to give you false hope or try to blow sunshine anywhere it shouldn't be. He said, but it's a clean slate after that. He said, if you take $100,000 from today back to 1975, he said it was worth over $500,000. He said the value of the dollar, he said, was still kind of struggling in building because they had removed the dollar from the gold standard. I think it was 1971 or 72, it was Nixon done it. So the dollar was still trying to struggle and claw its way up. He said today the dollar stands on top. He said, but he said our inflation is kind of offsetting that. He said, so in the presence of a huge loss like that, so you're down to a tenth of what you had. He said, everything, he said, it works itself out because you end up with a clean slate at that point. He said, what I mean by clean slate is, he said, everybody's starting over. So it's a complete reset. And I said, kind of like the great reset that we hear about. And he goes, yeah, kind of. He said, but not exactly. So when when the system goes, everybody loses, we all build back together. And it doesn't make things any better, but he said, short of complete, end of the world Armageddon stuff, he said, that's the best case scenario if the dollar was to truly completely crash. He said all markets globally. He said if I call you and tell you stop going to work, load your guns, protect your perimeter, guard your supplies, he said I'm going to be doing that from my house because I'm not going into work either. So he's a very like-minded individual, and I hate math. I've always hated math. Math's not something I was ever good at. You put me in a situation, like my experience goes back, in the back of an ambulance, in a freaking busy ER, in the middle of a giant crap storm, and I can do drug calculations in my head without even putting a whole bunch of effort into it. But when it comes to actual math, finances, and all that other stuff, for some reason, my mind, I just block. And sometimes I'm not the best at it. I'll put it that way. So talking to him, he kind of helps get that information more clear across there to me. And he said, it's not that you don't need to worry about it. He said, it's not something that I would make any rational decisions or irrational decisions, on. He said, it's like precious metals. He said, you want to buy silver and gold? He said, you can buy silver and gold. He said, make that a hedge. He said, use that as something that's going to be stable against this kind of stuff. He said, but don't put all your money in this kind of stuff. He said, have some aside. He said, if the cash that you have is worthless, but yet you take that cash before it becomes worthless and you buy silver and you buy gold and you have some of that put aside, he said, then you're good to go. He said, the only problem you run into is, he said, you're the one that has to sell that afterwards. He said, so you have to find somebody who's going to pay you a fair price to sell it. And he said, then what are you going to sell it for? He said, are you going to sell it for a profit? Or are you going to sell it for what you bought it for? Or are you going to sell it for $1 over spot? He said, how much a premium is going to be taxed on? He said, there's a lot of things to consider. But he said yes. He said, in the event of something like that, he said gold and silver would still hold value. To what degree? He said, I couldn't tell you. He said, and he said it's God's money. Like we always talk, gold and silver is God's money. It's always been here. It's been traded for centuries, as a form of currency, and widely accepted. But the only time that we see gold and silver and precious metals wildly increase in value is when there's a bunch of problems with the current financial situation, the current global markets and things like that. That's when gold and silver tends to increase in value because of the volatility of the current markets. And that's because people use it as a hedge to protect themselves against inflation and stuff like that. So it's not a bad idea to have some. And like I said, we have some. I'm going to get some more just to keep and have. Later on, if the prices do go up and all this kind of turns around and everything like that, we'll see how things play out. I'm not going to make any irrational decisions. I'm not going to say, oh my God, dump the cash, buy the silver and gold and, hoard it all type of thing. I'm just not going to do that. He's just a guy that I will listen to when it comes to that kind of stuff, because he is very good at it. He is very good at it. He's a wealth of knowledge, and and I told him today, I said, you take our two accounts that we have, our two funds, and I said, I want you to do with it. I said, what are you doing right now? And he told me, he said, this is what I'm doing. He said, this is what I'm buying. He said, because this and that and this and that, da 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 da. And I said, well, I want you to do that with ours. And he goes, what? And I said, I want you to take our accounts, our funds right now, and I said, I want you to use them how you're using yours right now. I said, because I trust you. And I said, if you're putting all your hard-earned money and your finances into what you're doing, I said, I trust you to do the exact same thing with ours. And, he was absolutely fine with that, very cool with it. And I said, because if you lose, I lose. And I said, if I lose, you lose. I said, because if you're doing the same thing with my money, our money that you're doing with yours, I said, we're either both going to come out okay, or I said, we're all both going to lose miserably. And I would much rather him, use it like it would be like it was his money, wisely, and looking at the futures and everything like that, and looking at the historical performance of these things, than I would me just picking and choosing random shit based on what looks good and what doesn't, But we got to talking about wheat and everything like that. Hold on just a second. The puppies were about to go outside their perimeter there, so I had to intervene. We were talking about wheat, and I said, what I was reading today is like between Russia and Ukraine, 25% of the world's wheat comes from those two countries. And I said, then you look at countries like Lebanon and Africa, and 100% of their wheat comes from Russia and Ukraine. I said, neither one of these countries are exporting. Ukraine's probably not even producing right now. If they are, it's very little, or, probably just going to get completely tore up. I said, but if you look at, take 25% of the world's grain and eliminate it from the global exchange all at once, and then turn around and look at China, what they're doing, they're hoarding 70% of the world's grains. I said, there's going to be a huge, huge demand for grain, because there's going to be massive shortage. So we looked at a couple commodity stocks and stuff like that, like commodity ETF type things, and we're going to put some money in those as well to just kind of, try to ride it out and see if we can get a little bit of build back on things. But it just, like I said, it's something. The market's so crazy. There's guys who know that stuff inside and out, and they understand that stuff, and they watch this stuff historically. They put people on this, and this is all these people do, is just watch the market, build models, compare it historically, and everything like that. So am I still worried? Yes, I am, because I know a lot of people are going to end up getting hurt from this. And I think the economy is going to get a lot worse. It truly is, because inflation is going to continue to rise, and the value of the dollar is going to continue to go down. It's right on line to actually outsuck the 2008 crash. So if there's ever such a term as outsucking, I think this one's going to outsuck the 2008 downturn. So we'll just have to kind of wait and see. But another reason, that's why I tell you guys, you start stocking food, start putting food away and everything, and get you some long-term dry stuff, just like we did today. Get you some good stuff that you're going to eat, some good meat and protein sources. Your beans and your rice and your dry goods are going to be fillers for that. You're not going to depend on those wholly as your only source of nutrition, though they will sustain you if you need them to a point. But you want good long-term storage capable foods that are going to last you and be there. And when things get tight, things get tough, and you know, a box of ramen noodles or a pack of ramen noodles costs you $6, you know, and you got to consider, well, you know, I'm glad I really bought this stuff. I can eat beans and rice for a couple of months till this crap storm's over with. And, you know, you'll do what you got to do. But that's the whole point of becoming more self-sufficient, self-reliant, because the more that we can get producing here for our own consumption and everything like that, the safer we're going to be from those kind of things, the more sheltered and blanketed we're going to be from the rising costs, even though those costs are going to, you know, I'm getting ready to buy a ton of chicken feed for 90 chickens, so I'm looking at probably close to $900 for that. But in the end, I'm going to have a better, healthier product that I know where it comes from. It's not, you know, not a lot of chemicals, not a lot of byproducts and stuff like that used in the feed. It's going to be fed naturally as a chicken should eat, and it's going to be allowed to range and stuff and eat, you know, on the grass and forage and everything. And then look to building our other flock after that to get the American breast chickens in here and start raising them and making those both our egg layers and ultimately our meat chickens, so we can be sustainable with those. And then also get the rabbit hutch built, get the rabbits here, start producing our own rabbits and everything, and eventually get the pigs here. So if I don't get the pigs this year, I'll be disappointed. I really hope we can do it, and that is actually the next project I'm really going to start on, is getting that down there cleared for the fence. It's just a matter of how the weather plays out. I mean, like I said, it was 22 degrees up here this morning, and it was snowing again. And now it's like 32, and the wind's blowing 10, 15 miles an hour, and it's cold as hell, but it's still muddy. So, but we're going to continue doing what we're doing, and we're going to work towards more and more self-sustainability. We're going to try to insulate ourselves from the things that are going on in this world, and you know, build that layer of protection between it and us. And in the meantime, we're going to continue to share videos, share ideas, share tips, share strategies and stuff with people. And that's why I always ask you guys, if you know people who are like-minded who can benefit from these videos and this kind of information, please share these videos. You know, if you like this content, please leave us a thumbs up. It helps the channel grow on YouTube. It helps get us farther reach. Leave us a comment. Tell us what's going on in your hollow, your neck of the woods. You know, give me some ideas. Tell me what you're doing. You know, I'm loving the feedback. I think last time I looked, we got 127 subscribers. The channel is growing, and I'm flattered, guys. I truly am. So the channel is growing. There's more people commenting, more people interacting, and I love that. And I'm not going to always have the right answers. I'm going to tell you that right from the beginning, because I'm still learning myself. And I do appreciate the subscriber who reached out and told me about the wheat berries. That when video we did a couple weeks ago, last week or so, on the wheat berries, where we sealed them up in the Mylar bags. I just threw a couple oxygen absorbers in there with them and sealed it using the Ziploc on the Mylar bags. And he says, "Hey man," he said, that Ziploc's not going to hold those oxygen absorbers. He said, "It's not going to, you know, do what you think it's going to do. You need to go down there and check your bags." He said, "Because I guarantee you," he said, "your Mylar your oxygen absorbers are going to be used up and spent." And he said, "Your bags aren't going to be completely sealed like you hoped, like a vacuum seal." Sure enough, I went down there, pulled the food grade bucket off the top, unscrewed the gamma lid, and every daggone one of them is still sealed, but they weren't vacuum sealed. So he was right. So I do have to heat seal these things, and I'll do that, and I'll do another video on that in the future here, because I'm going to have to take all them daggone things out of there and redo them. So lesson learned. But that's, you know what, guys, that's how we do things. That's how we help each other out, is we share that information. It's trial and error. If I do something stupid and make a mistake and learn to do it the right way, we share it with you. You know how to do it right, because we've already made the mistake. And that's how I've learned from YouTube videos. That's how I've learned from other people, from their mistakes. And we're going to make mistakes along the way. And the whole point of this is we need to be human beings and help each other out. We should all celebrate when we're successful, and you know, not applaud when people fail, because we should be there for each other. And with that, I'm going to ask you to please share this information with people. Please subscribe if you're interested. Help this channel grow so we can help other people. And in the meantime, starve the system. Start working towards that. Work harder towards that goal of becoming more producer, less consumer, and starve the system. That's the only way we're going to change things, folks. And we have to do it together. And we are stronger together than any of those people sitting on the hill in D.C. ever are. So let's show them who they truly work for, and let's starve them out by taking away their power and their grip on us with our food and everything that they use against us. Take care, keep prepping, and God bless.